For the first time ever, your Wellness Rebranded podcast team is crafting this excellent experience in the form of an in-person retreat. It's going to be here in Annapolis at the Collective, February 7th from 9 to 4. You don't want to miss this.
It's called Exhale, which is what we hope you will get to do while you are with us. We are going to drop the link in the show notes. This is going to be awesome. We love being together, and we cannot wait to be in person together with you sharing this day. We have all sorts of really yummy things planned for you. First and foremost, it is a chance to pause and put yourself at the top of your priority list. You are going to get a chance to pause, to practice some mindfulness. We're going to have guided intuitive eating experiences. You'll get to ask us all your questions about nutrition and movement and intuitive eating and body image and mental wellness or emotional well-being. We are going to do a journaling exercise. We have so much planned. We simply can't tell you all about it.
So come join us. We're crafting a beautiful, recharging day for you to take care of yourself and take this podcast to a real experience.
Welcome to Wellness Rebranded, the podcast for women ready to redesign their relationship with food, fitness, and feelings.
We are a registered dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist. 3 experts, 1 mission.
To help you break free from diet culture, hustle culture, and emotional burnout, let's redefine what wellness really means on your terms. Hey there. So what if, imagine with me for a second, there was a secret to healing and supporting and promoting your mental and emotional well-being that you didn't know? And what if our very own Maria Winters
Has the secret? That's a lot of expectation.
knew the secret?
I knew you were going there. That's such a high expectation. But listen.
And yet it's true.
Right, here we
Maria is about to drop some, like a wisdom bomb on
Knowledge.
us today.
Well, I think this is, it's not a secret. It's just maybe a good reminder. And healing, that's a good point, Elizabeth. Healing doesn't only need to happen in therapy room or hospitals. Healing happens very beautifully and effectively in community. Mm-hmm. Think of those times that we've tried, either physically or emotionally, that we've tried to heal alone. Mm-hmm. How does that go, or how fast is that recovery, right? So that's what they always talk about, those support systems, the ones that come bring you flowers at the hospital, or they come bring you, support you when you are at that rehab program, or you support you when you're going through therapy, or whatever that is, you're at home after a surgery and people stop by. Healing happens faster and better in community.
Also, I feel like health and well-being don't happen alone, right? There's so much research on the detriments to our health of loneliness.
Yes.
Community is really, really important in all the ways.
Yes. And I'll tell you one more thing about healing in community. I'll tell you what I have learned in the past very few years of my, life as a therapist. Healing happens in community, and that healing happens when somebody feels seen emotionally. It sounds very simple, and it kind of is, but it's so deep and so important. Your life changes to the better when you feel seen by other human beings emotionally. Not seeing like, hi, Elizabeth, I see you, is that I see you with all the emotions that you bring in, and all of them are accepted and supported. Life changes. So many of you might have known that I worked at an emergency room for 12 years. And something that I learned among all the things that could happen, many of the things I've learned is, one of them is that many things can happen when you forget about your emotional well-being. I know as a fact what can happen when we just let it go, and then crisis comes. I've seen it all in an emergency room. But I also learned the other side of that. I would never forget this woman. You guys probably didn't know this either, but I ran a support group for moms for a few years with this hospital that I was working at. And basically, The group was not about learning how to breastfeed. It wasn't about learning how to be a better mom. It was a group where they could come and chat how overwhelming and hard motherhood could be.
You're reminding me of two things. Can I share real
Yes.
quick? As you're talking about community and healing, I'm remembering two times in my life where I had that really profound, powerful experience. The first one, well, not necessarily in sequential order, but one of them was exactly what you're talking about. When I had my first baby, I joined a group called Professional Moms at Home, and I met people with infants, and we sort of had a thing in common in that we had all been professionals. We all had babies. And it was exactly that. We just got together and frankly talked about how hard it was to
Yes.
adjust to new motherhood. To this day, those are some of my very closest friends. You actually just met one of them in the coffee shop the other day, Maria.
Yes.
That was like so helpful for me. And the other one was my dad, many, many years ago, my dad died suddenly and unexpectedly. And I actually ended up joining a grief support group because I didn't know anyone at that point in my life who had lost a parent. Most of my friends, their parents were still alive, and my husband, and like nobody really, I felt like nobody was understanding what I was going through. And that was such a powerful healing experience for me.
Yes, it's a space where you don't have to pretend anymore, where you don't have to push through and try to do what everybody else thinks you should be doing. So anyway, I ran that group for several years, and it was an open group. So, I would get different moms, like maybe repeated moms and some news come and go, but I would never know which moms I would get every week, right? It could be the one that wanted to come back or the new ones. Anyway, so I met a lot of moms through that group. At the same time, I was working at the emergency room. I stopped guiding the group, but I kept working at the emergency room. And I'll never forget this mom who came, and I didn't know who she was there. So I can't remember exactly how it went. I think another clinician saw this woman, but then I had to come in just to ask something very specific. And she went, "Maria, thank goodness it's you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do we know each other?" And she's like, "You ran the group." And she was at the emergency room because she was having a nervous breakdown. This woman started having thoughts that she didn't want to have. And she felt scared of how overwhelmed she was feeling, that she decided to call 911 or bring herself to the ER and say, "I'm not doing well." I'm at at that edge of losing my mind because I'm at home with these young kids.
I actually have goosebumps right now imagining how safe that woman must have felt when she saw you.
She saw
I
me.
was just thinking that.
And to be honest with you, I see so many people that at that moment I didn't remember. And she said, "No, I was in your group." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad you're here." And she starts telling me why she's there. And I'm like, I start normalizing. Yes, it makes sense what you're saying and validating, right? I hear you. Motherhood can be tough. And we talked and we made our recommendations. And then after that, every person that would come to the room, the woman is like, "No, I only talk to Maria. I want to talk to Maria." But and that happened more than once. Not that with somebody that knew me, but somebody that would come in real crisis, and then just spending 20 minutes with them in that hospital room and really just listening, validating, and saying, "It makes sense that you feel this way. There's nothing wrong with you. Is your emotions are coming out because you've been pushing yourself for so long," that just saying that, you would literally notice the changes in their bodies going,
Yeah, because think about how often we don't hear that.
"We don't."
Yeah. I felt like that. My husband had like a mental health crisis last year, and like I am not trained in mental health. Like I didn't really know what to do for him, and I ended up taking him to urgent care, who referred us to mental health urgent care, who referred us to the ER. And I felt like once we got to like mental health urgent care, and it was like no longer my responsibility to keep him safe, I felt like, oh my gosh, this therapist is like a miracle worker. Like I couldn't believe the change in how much relief that both him and I felt that like we were being taken care of in that moment.
So going through that experience for me made me think, patient after patient, again for 12 years in an ER, I was like, where are we going to feel seen, safe, and supported? Where are we learning Like the same way that we come to a gym, for example, with you, Tara, and I'm lifting those weights and I'm training my muscle to become stronger, right? To carry my luggage for a trip. Where are we going? To become more emotionally fit, which is again is the habits that we learn, that we create to become emotionally wiser, because not even have to be stronger. I don't know if I love the idea of emotionally stronger, but wiser and more aware of our emotions, and learning tools, practical things that you can do to, in a way, prevent getting to those crises, but also understand the importance of taking care and paying attention to that part of you that is so important, which is your mind and your emotions, right? And I realized we didn't. There are really no professional spaces out there like an emotional school where adults could come and learn things to improve their lives in that way, right? There is therapy, absolutely, and it's an amazing resource. I think everyone at some point should try therapy. I have my own therapist, but a space where it was different than therapy. It's a space where you come as a community, and again, instead of a gym and you're like looking at each other like, hey, watch me lift my weights, we're doing here with a
That's what we do there.
no, but
Do
when
you
I,
bounce like Maria was?
yes, but when I go to the gym, Tara, in a way, sense of community. Everybody's doing their own thing, but it maybe it's different. They're not the exact same goals, but is that feeling that, okay, we're here
We're
to
all
get
in it
stronger.
together.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
here to get stronger in a place that greets you at the front desk, right? And they, if you have any questions, they're there to ask you questions. And, you know, they offer different things to make it easier. They have coaches like you or trainers that come and help you how to figure out a machine. Where is a place like that where I can come and say, hey, here I am with my emotions. Where is the machine where I can make these emotions stronger, and or where I can feel seen this way? And where is the trainer that can come and tells me what to do when I feel grief or sadness or extreme anxiety? Where is that, Jim?
That sounds like an amazing idea.
Well, yes, it is an amazing idea. And also, I love how Maria lights up when she talks about it.
I love
know.
it. I love it. So that's why I created the Emotional Fitness Studio. And people sometimes ask, how do you describe it? And I just did. The Emotional Fitness Studio is either emotional school or emotional gym. But more than that, imagine a space where as soon as you walk in, you feel welcomed in the most human way, almost like you arrive to your friend's home, right? Or your friend's living room. And you come in and you feel you meet other people that are there with similar goals of just seeing each other emotionally, learn something that could make your life better, and lived in wellness. Lived in wellness. You're going to come to experience somehow something that is going to make you feel a little bit better, and you're going to leave the place a little lighter than how you came in.
And it really happens. I've been. It's true. It does work that way.
It does.
It does.
You have created that space.
Well, and it's not only the space that, you know, the space I use owned by Alison Loftus and the Leading Lady, which we have interviewed here in the podcast. You can find that episode. Not only the space is beautiful, and people always have a comment about how beautiful and inviting and welcoming the space is the human touch, guys. And that's what I think sometimes we're missing. And more now that we're on our phones all the time and we're so busy and we have to prove the world that we're these, I don't know, productive people, whatever, is the human touch of welcome all of you, no judgment, no pressure, no pretense, no fake anything, just you. And all of you are so welcome and so seen and so supported. And I'm so happy to see you. And FYI, I don't have my shit together either. So let's just, deal with it together. That it changes the whole interaction.
I love it.
So I want to share, for those of you who have come to the Emotional Fitness Studio or not, what I've learned, and then for those of you listeners who are not local and maybe cannot come and try the emotional fitness studio for yourself, how you can create these spaces in your living rooms, in your car when you're having a conversation with your kids, in your bedroom when you're having that conversation before going to bed with your husband. Is not the physical space what creates an emotional fitness studio. Is not the actual space.
Well, I don't know about Tara, but I'm on the edge of my seat for this
I
last
know.
bit.
As
Me
you
too.
should be.
I'm ready to create my car into an emotional fitness studio.
Well, let me ask you this. You both have been speakers at the Emotional Fitness Studio. Is there anything that for you was maybe different than when you have been a speaker somewhere else?
Well, one thing that immediately stands out to me is something that I, as someone who works with sensitive conversations and sensitive topics, that you go out of your way to make it a very, very, very safe space. Everything from, there's not really cameras taking pictures of you, or if there is, it's very trauma informed. You ask, you're sensitive, you take them from behind if there happen to be any. You just so thoughtfully curate making it a safe space in a way that, going and speaking most places doesn't really happen. That's the first thing that jumps out at me.
For me, it's like the vibe. The minute you walk in the doors, you feel like peaceful and calm and supported. Even if you're doing something like I've come and done exercise stuff, As you know, well-being is closely tied to fitness and health, right? So even on like higher energy days, I still feel like this vibe in here is safe, calm, supported, and just very secure.
And you're always there with a smile, greeting everyone personally.
Yep.
And genuinely, by the way, because I love this. But to your point also, Elizabeth, another way to create a safe space is to really choose who are the people guiding these conversations. I spend, a good amount of time really selecting who are the people that I'm bringing to share information.
And somehow Tara and I made the cut.
And somehow they made it. We still don't know why.
We pinch
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I don't know how, but
And it's a space that I protect and will protect so much that even if I'm trying a speaker for the first time, and I know their track record and all that, but even if anybody says something that I think is not aligned with keeping that space, I'm gonna open my mouth right there and then. Does that make sense? Respectfully, but it always gonna be that I want people coming in knowing that Maria has our back if even something goes wrong, which hasn't happened. We're going into the third year of it. But
also, I think that one other thing that jumps out at me is something that you do very differently. And I see it, I guess, because I have been a speaker, is you are very, very intentional about telling people this is an experience. Like, people aren't just coming to sit here and watch you give a PowerPoint presentation. We want you to actually help them experience whatever it is that you're doing in their bodies in an actionable way that we're doing here together. And I think that is also part of what makes it really special. It's not just coming and a bunch of people talking at you.
no, and I don't want that. Then they can go somewhere else. But I'm thinking when you were a speaker, that part of, in your case, it was about intuitive eating and tuning in your fullness and hunger cues. And that the people that were participants in that specific event, we sat down and had a dinner in complete silence. They were supposed, we talked a lot.
But only maybe 7 minutes of it.
It was like 7 minutes of an hour
That
and a half
sounds amazing.
workshop. And that was the best part. They've never experienced it before. But what I love...
I don't know what that says about me as a speaker, that their favorite part was actually when I shut up and there was a
because
silent
it
meal.
was a new experience. They
know.
were given the space to connect with themselves while enjoying this food.
Yeah.
But what it was amazing, and it happened the same with Tara, and it happens a lot during events, is how the participants themselves start connecting with each other. How was it for you? Did you experience that too? And that itself is healing.
Yeah.
That's my point, right? So one of the things, for example, that I learned running these for 2 years now. We're going to, going into the third year. Shared experience can be healing, right? I've watched people share something out loud, something maybe for the first time. And the moment someone else in the room says, I hear you, that resonates with me.
That's that Brene Brown quote, right? That shame can't exist in the light. Just saying it out loud in front of another person is a step of healing.
Well, and
It's so therapeutic.
You can feel the room soften when that happens. And I'm not doing anything. It's among the participants, right? So that sense of being understood, that alone can be healing. And that happens at the Emotional Fitness Studio because it's natural when you come disarmed to show yourself as you're coming in. Something else I've learned is that being seen, how the way we started this episode, being seen changes how heavy things feel. When you realize that you're not carrying it alone, it can bring a big change. So another big lesson has been that how much things calm down when people feel seen. So many of our worries don't disappear, right? But they become easier to carry when you know you're not carrying them alone. So when you feel acknowledged, so if people are wondering, well, what does feel seen means? It's acknowledged, validated, accepted. Then even your nervous system, guys, can settle. You see, you don't have to fight to be understood, to be seen, to prove your point. Your shoulders drop, right? Your breath changes. That happens. And then environment matters more than we think, right? So the most common feedback that I've heard from these people is, again, how it's intentional, like you were saying, Elizabeth, and creating an environment that it's casual but deep at the same time, simple but meaningful, and all that stuff. So I think that's the main thing of the Emotional Fitness Studio, is creating that space. Okay. If you're local and you would like to check out the Emotional Fitness Studio, check out the Facebook page, Emotional Fitness Studio, or on my website, coachingtherapist.com. There's a tab there that says Emotional Fitness Studio, and that's where you can see the schedule for the whole year. 32 events we usually host per year, and they are all completely free. I forgot to mention
that's the best. You did forget to mention the most amazing part of the whole thing.
That all
it's
these-
1,000% free
Yes.
to participants.
Well, because healing can be accessible to everyone. And that's the main goal, right? Healing should and can be accessible to all. But then my point is, if you're not local, the Emotional Fitness Studio just creates something that we can create anywhere. Again, if the main point of this is to have a space where people feel validated, seen, supported, and safe, what are we creating in our interactions with our family members and other people? How can we, do this how can it be created anywhere with intention, with care? We're with people that are willing to be real and to, again, not hoping that other people are fixed, but that they can show up as themselves and they feel that they belong. How can we do this?
Yes, how can we? Tell us your top 3.
Well, I think is bringing those conversations with people around you. Create those spaces. Like I was giving the example at the beginning in the car when you're driving with a friend or where you're driving with your kids or whatever, and you start those conversations. Make those spaces where you make somebody feel understood and say, I've noticed this, these changes in you. How are you doing? I see how great you're doing this. Guess what? I felt the same way. It resonates when you said something. Is that welcoming part, and just more than talking about yourself, asking questions, how the other people is doing, showing interest, genuine curiosity.
Yeah, like you have to notice. Mm-hmm. You have to put your phone down and notice who you're around.
That's what it was coming to my mind, was putting our phone down so we're actually connecting.
Totally. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to be distracted by all the other things we have to do or supposed to do or whatever, that it's really easy, I think, to just stop noticing your family or your friends or whoever's around you. So pay attention.
And when you create spaces or conversations where all emotions are welcome, naturally healing might follow. When you open conversations about emotions, when somebody shares an emotion with you and you stop and ask curious questions and you say, I'm listening and I see your emotion, already the space changed. Because usually what we do as human beings is you want to fix the emotion or you want to just hide it, right? It's like, oh, somebody says, I'm feeling anxious. Well, try this, try that. Let's fix it. Because it's too hard to maybe give that emotion that space. Once you realize that maybe that's a pattern that we're doing, is fixing and solving and preaching about emotions, and just grab the emotion, see it, and give it a space, already your conversation is going to change.
I mean, to be fair, I do want to fix the anxiety anytime it pops up.
I know, but you don't have to. At least not your first step. Right?
What I'm thinking right now is, oh gosh, that conversation I had in my house last night, and maybe I didn't do this very well.
And that's okay, because awareness is the first step. But think about yourself. When you feel heard emotionally, it's a whole different interaction that you're having with that individual. We're used to just like, oh, it's okay, girl, or it's not that bad, or you'll be fine, it will change, just try harder, or as long as we minimize doing that, you create that space. Right?
I feel like that's such a cultural thing too. When I moved to Costa Rica, like I would ask people like, hey, how you doing? And they'd be like, good, why? Mm-hmm. Like it was a greeting for me, but people would be like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like, are you good? Mm-hmm. Like we're so surface level, I think, here.
Yeah, and it's, people sometimes think, I don't know, that emotions are contagious or something, or that, again, it's a bad thing to feel emotions, and it's absolutely not. So thank you for letting me share about this passion of mine. It's something that I really love. And again, you're all invited to check these are in-person wellness events all year round. And please know that you don't have to be in crisis to deserve support, and you don't have to have the right words to belong. And that's what one of the missions of this studio. Again, more information on the show notes, and hopefully you guys are going to be speakers again next year, and the year after that you're kind of stuck with me.
Good.
We love being speakers.
We love it. Yeah.
Yes,
And if you're out there listening, and you absolutely come to the events if you're able, but also people can sponsor and help make it happen.
Please,
right?
Thank you very much. These would not be possible for all this beautiness to happen, and also for free, if it wasn't because of amazing local businesses sponsoring this community initiative. So the way I look at it is that it's a community initiative designed for the community, supported by the community, mm-hmm. right? So is again, imagine the impact of healing to a bigger level, because then we are investing in social and emotional and mental well-being. Our community is investing in one of the most important things, I think, and the foundation of a community, which is our emotional health.
And also, Maria, I imagine that you would be an amazing consultant for if someone wants to bring something similar to their community.
Yes, I would love to. So thank you to the sponsors in 2024, 25, and those coming in 2026. This could not happen without you. You know who you are, and I will be forever grateful. And for 2026, filled with over 30 events, with more welcoming, more hot tea waiting for you at the door. My hugs to whoever wants them, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition, or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara De Leon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.